Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the podcast that explores the world within and out. And thank you for subscribing to Traveling Inside Out, wherever you get your podcast from. And if you could rate it on Apple Podcast or wherever, that would be amazing. Thank you. Happy Halloween. I know for a fact that there are a lot of people all around me celebrating this holiday. I personally don't, but it's also my first time in United States for Halloween. So might as well make the whole episode a little bit Halloween vibey kind of a thing. But before that, I have news that I'm going to be very brief because probably I'm going to talk more about it in future episodes. Long story short, I'm engaged. Congrats to me and to my partner because I'm not engaged by myself, right? But more about that in future episodes. Now, let's talk about Halloween. So, what is it there to be said about Halloween? Well, actually, I'm just going to start with Brooklyn Horror Film Festival. As I mentioned in last week, I have been in New York City for a while, and it was my first time ever going to a film festival. And what else other than a Brooklyn Horror Film Festival? It sounded really good. I knew of them for a few years now, and I was really curious to see how it's going to work. Now, the theater where the movies were screened was in Williamsburg. Williamsburg is a part of Brooklyn that I've never been to before, which I'm excited to discover new places in this town. And I was shocked to see it. It's kind of a hipster town, I'm calling it. It's also interesting to see that there's a mixing of nationalities or races and so on, which you normally, especially in Brooklyn, they are kind of, or maybe I'm wrong, usually they are staying aside, like each to their group. So I decided to go by myself. My partner was working, and so I decided to go. And I didn't know how horror the movies can be, so I didn't want to go to something very late at night because it's like 1 hour by bus, I think, or something like that from where my partner lives to Williamsburg. And since I was going alone, I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna risk it. I don't want to be like really crazy. So let's just take something that is not that late at night. And that's what I did. You are going to get annoyed at me, but I cannot remember the name of the movie that I watched. And I hate when that happens. But I can tell you my impression of the festival. So I got to the cinema. It was a bit confusing where the door is. It was a very tiny sign outside of the sidewalk, and pointing that that's where Brooklyn Horror Film Festival is. And I got there, and it was just a regular cinema. But then again, I got there, and there once again, not even one posters or banners of something to say that this is where the festival happens. So I was looking around, and you enter into that specific cinema in Williamsburg, and there are like stairs on the side that can go up or down, but then just in front of you is where you buy your snacks. And I was like, okay, sure, I'm gonna buy my snacks, why not? No, I'm joking. I was like, I need to know, is this the place where I need to get to the movie? Like, what's happening? So I think someone who was working for the cinema saw me confused, so he was like, are you all right? And I'm like, I don't he asked me, did you buy your ticket online? And I'm like, yeah, but is this the place? And they were like, oh, yeah, that's downstairs. So I go downstairs, and downstairs there were 3 or 4 people sitting at a table. I mean, 2 of them were standing, 1 was sitting. I don't remember exactly who was standing, who was sitting. And like a quietness, nothing else. And I'm like, what the hell? I probably that was the first projection of the day. Maybe I don't know for a fact, but uh, it was crazy to me because online it seemed like there's so much, like the festival is so alive, and I'm coming here and I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I tell them like I know I arrived a little bit early because I was really early. Actually, I thought that the trip is gonna take me 1 hour, and I think it took me like 20 minutes or 30 minutes or something like that by bus. So I was very early, and I was very confused. And they told me, yes, it is, but could you give us 4 minutes? And I was like, sure, I'm just gonna go upstairs, grab some snacks. Sure. So I was hungry, and my point was I wanted to come earlier to this place because I wanted to eat something before. But guess what? Most of the places were closed all around. I just, before getting inside the cinema, I did like around the block, kind of going around, and there was nothing open. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, why? So then I said, well, I guess snacking in the cinema it is. And I get I get to the snacking thing, and as I was going to be in front of the thing to see like what am I going to eat, I remember that at some point a few years back I had pretzel bites with my partner, and I was like, I could go for that again, sure. So I'm asking pretzel bites, and as I was going towards the place where I can actually pay, another guy that was working there, I think he had like a mop or something to use, or I don't know, and he just drops it very close to me. And I was like, don't attack me. I'm like, is this part of the festival? Like, what's happening right now? So he was laughing, he apologized. Then he gave me the pretzel bites with like cheese sauce or whatever. Then I think it's the same cheese sauce that you usually have for nachos. And then the interesting part was I was like, how many people do you have coming at this film festival? When went to present my ticket, they asked me for my name. I'm like, what? And they're like, what's your first name? And I'm like, Alina? Like, what? What are you talking about? Never in my entire life. And I've worked for a lot of film festivals, and I've been to a lot of film festivals. Never have I ever been asked my first name and then last name. And I was like, GR. It's a bit difficult for me when I'm put on the spot to say my last name really fast and spell my last name. I'm like, oh man, I need to take a second. Anyway, that happens. And then I go into the cinema. He's like, it's the room 8 or whatever you want to call it. And there were a few people, and like an idiot, again, I've been to so many film festivals. I see like it was also very quiet. It was so strange that it was so quiet, like no ambiental music or like something. Make it more festival like feeling. I don't know what I was expecting, but anyway. So what happens is I go there and I ask like an idiot, sorry, like a random person that was inside. I'm like, sorry, do you know that these seats are like assigned? And the guy was like, no. And then he pointed, I think he had like maybe like a weekly, or I don't know how many days the festival was for, but I think he had like a badge, and he's like, what's written on your, or like, no, you just have to have the badge. And I'm like, I have a ticket. And he's like, yeah, no, we're staying where we went. I was like, I don't remember ever looking, like whatever film festival I've been to, I've always just found a spot, like I just found a seat. As I went and decided which seat is mine, I felt awkward because it was so quiet. On the screen there were like few cartoons, like few images, basically some ads and something, but again no sounds. It was so quiet that you wouldn't want, like I wanted to start eating but not really, like the way that I was sitting in the chair, you could hear in the whole cinema, and it was very awkward. Anyway, eventually the movie starts, and it was an interesting movie. It wasn't horror. It was a bit of a like what is going on kind of a situation. It was like an after, I don't know, many years later when people were there was okay. Again, I don't remember the name of the title of the movie, but I do remember the plot of the movie. So long story short, and I'm not gonna give any spoilers. There is this company. There is this kid, and he's talking with his dad's ghost, and this discovery comes into the hand of a researcher, and they are making people kill themselves just so they can be in the afterlife with whoever. Probably like that's very vaguely explained, but the movie was interesting. The conversation was interesting. Before it started, this person comes, and I didn't understand. Was he the programmer? And I was like, "Did I see you outside just now?" And I'm like, "Is this actually a very small festival?" And I thought that is really big, and it's actually very small. And then he says, "Don't forget that there's that was also very awkward. Everything was awkward about this film festival, except the movie. The movie was great. He says, let me remember. He says, don't forget that at 7 o'clock there's a party or like a after party or something like that. I don't remember, or I don't remember the time. In this specific place, everybody's invited, and please come because I want to talk and make friends or something like that. I was like, that's so awkward. I'm pretty sure when he left the room, or like the where we were, I think he was like, fuck me, why did they say that? That was so like, I don't know. And then the movie starts, and I was, did I see that guy when I was coming in to see the movie? And then the second question, is this guy in the movie? I couldn't, because I didn't see him when I went out, so I couldn't know. But at the end of the movie, most of the time, I like to stay until the end of the credits. Not because Marvel always has some extra stories at the end after credits. It's just because I feel like unless I really have to catch a bus, or like I really have to go and like hurry whatever out, I want to take my time. But I worked as a cinema projectionist, and I was in charge of lighting, like putting the lights on. Usually you have the in-between lights, in which is not fully turned on, all the lights, but you do have like kind of mid, you also need to see how many people are still in the room, but kind of mid credits, you could kind of turn on the dim lights, because if people are leaving, they kind of want to know where the fuck they're going. Well, I stayed until the end, and spoiler alert, there is like a tiny bit of something else happening at the end. And it's interesting because, I mean, actually, the movie can be also a love story. I think it really depends on what you're focusing on. But the movie ends, the credit ends, and then it's just like pitch black. And I was like, hello? Like, anyone up there? Like, anywhere? Like, hello? Lights on? I can see shit. So I like stumbled my way out. And I was like, oh, wow. There was this guy that was, normally for a film festival, you get to vote, and they count for the public vote. And usually that's an award that is given to the movie that got the most bigger notes for the public. So I voted, and then there was this guy that held a bag with the merch of the festival, saying like the vote, and I was like, sure, there. Then I go out, and that was it. And I felt a bit weird because plot twist, I actually applied to work for this film festival a few years back in 2019, and they wanted to work with me, except I can't work legally in the United States. So when I said that to them, they were like, yeah, no, we cannot move forward. And in a way, I was like, I kind of want to say like, hey, remember me? But then also, I'm not the person who ever talks like that. Like, I I'm too stressed and get too much anxiety because of this. So I was like, nope, not happening, not freaking happening. Um, okay, so that was my experience with Brooklyn Horror Film Festival, and I go back home a few days later. I'm seeing because I like them on Facebook and I'm still on Facebook. Whatever, old, meta version. I know, but I'm following them on Facebook and they started posting pictures with like famous actors, and I'm like, and with some pictures and like everybody having a good time, and I was like, damn, I mean, I choose a good movie. I'm not upset with the movie, but like, I really did not choose a good time to go to, huh? Because all of the other pictures for the festival, they really seem to have a good time. And to be honest, I should have gone to that party, but I felt so insecure and anxious because that could have been my connection. Like, to make connections. This is how you are supposed to do in this business, but I didn't, and I regret it. Yes, but also I was like, I'm not like this is not happening. How am I gonna go? Like, no, that's or the anxiety. Like, even now when I think about it, I'm like a wave of heat washes over me because I'm so stressed about it. So that's not happening. Moving on from that to Halloween. I think 2 or 3 weeks before the Halloween, I realized that there's actually a parade happening on the 31st of October in Manhattan, where people are wearing all sort of insane costumes, and it's a parade. So streets are blocked somewhere. I don't know, 6, 7 avenue, some avenue. I don't know. And I was like, I don't know if I want to go. But maybe I saw that they had a link, and I'm like, maybe I can watch it online. Who knows? So I was like, okay, I will remember. Well, I didn't remember. I got very confused about everything because that Saturday before Halloween, I got proposed to, and I said yes. So I couldn't focus on everything that I wanted to do. However, on the 30th, so on Sunday, I knew of a house that is called Halloween Extravaganza. I think Brooklyn Halloween Extravaganza or something like that, which is a residential house. So like people live there, and they made their house very famous. It's also on Google because they have exposed like a lot of incredible, spooky like rather spooky Halloween figurines and stuff like that. And I decided that I wanted to go. However, I kind of wanted to go in the night, but I wasn't very sure. And since we had my partner and I, who we also had other arrangement for dinner and so on, we decided to go before dinner, and it was the clearest sky, the nicest weather that so goes against the idea of Halloween. And so I posted pictures. I took pictures. We went there. It was like a half an hour walk from where we live. We went there and it was amazing. It was filled with people. Unfortunately, my partner thought that it's a horror, spooky house that you go to get inside. So when we got there and he saw the sign that please keep away from the porch, he was like, oh, I thought that we can go inside. And I'm like, no, why would you think that? And then I realized that I didn't explain very well what it was, and he just imagined and never asked me. So we were kind of both disappointed. I wasn't disappointed by the house. I was just disappointed that it wasn't night, because I was like, I think it would be spookier in the night. There were a lot of people, a lot of kids, and they had like theme. On one side of the porch, you would see in a very spooky way the little three little pigs, Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf and the granny, I think, or the wolf was a granny and the like that. Then it was the characters from the Wizard of Oz. Then it was like a part only with witches, a part only with zombies. I've seen some vampires as well. It was like really nice, and there were some of them actually had some sounds coming from them. It's like it was really stunning. But again, I still think that it could have been way spookier if I would have gone there in the night. Then 31st comes. um, okay, spoiler alert, I'm recording this later than 31st because I kind of wanted to finish the Halloween and then tell you how Halloween went. 31st comes, and my partner and I decide to go and watch a movie, just like a regular movie, because he really goes to watch movies quite often, and he hasn't because he worked on a project for a couple of months. So he was like due to watch a movie. And I was like, sure, I don't care about that movie. We watched Black Adam, and honestly, whatever. I'm not that impressed about that movie. Maybe I'm not the target of it anyway. So I didn't care about the movie, but I care about spending time with my partner. So I was like, okay, let's go. As we approach Manhattan, and I'm like, oh my God, wait. Like at some point at, I don't know, midday, I see around the neighborhood there was just random guy masked as the Joker. Then I saw some kids, and then I was like, oh my God, wait, there was the parade. Ah, man. And then I saw very few people that were dressed. We went for dinner, and then we went for the movie, and then we went back home. There weren't so many, but maybe because the parade happened not that close to where we were, or I don't know. I think we were though close to, I don't, you know what? I think we were close to Times Square, but I don't know for sure. I don't remember. Um, and so I didn't actually see much. His street or his building is not open for trick or treaters, and I haven't seen kids like that in his neighborhood. I don't think that they do that much in his around his block area, basically. So that was Halloween for me this year, and hopefully next year, I don't know where I'm going to be because I never know where I'm going to be. Hopefully next year is going to be a little bit more exciting. And now, my favorite part of the podcast, maybe? Okay, maybe it's not my favorite part of the podcast, but I decided to share after 4 years of sharing stories from my comfort zone and how I left it in multiple times, and then having people who shared their stories about leaving comfort zone. I decided to go to you, the reader, but until I'm going to collect your messages, I decided to go to Reddit and share a comfort zone, getting outside of the comfort zone story. And since it's a Halloween theme, let's take this one. My friends are horror fanatics, and they've always been getting me to go into haunted houses or watching horror movies. When I was younger, I was downright petrified of anything frightening. They weaned me into it, though, and eventually I got used to it. Now, being scared or nervous gets me excited, which I can use in other situations too. Public speaking, mountain climbing, asking out girls are all easier now. God, I love those guys. Um, so, this is the message from this person, and I specifically love it because of the what he said at the end. Because I was like, okay, if you don't like something and then eventually start liking it, because people push you for it, that's always great. But I don't see it. I just see it more like an evolution, not necessarily going out of your comfort zone. But when you take the smallest thing, or maybe it's the biggest lesson, and you apply it in the rest of your life, that is one of the greatest lessons in life in the end. So I can give you, I talked about my fears in previous episodes, but I know for a fact that one of the things that I always wanted to do, and I'm still scared to do it, but I've done it as a kid. I remember for a fact that I've done it as a kid, and I'm still scared to do, is to jump in a pool. Doesn't matter from high up. It can be literally from the base of, like, I don't know. It doesn't matter where from. I'm scared to jump in the pool. So something like this actually ended up to not be useful because I am still scared to jump in the pool. I was also scared to jump in the water when I went snorkeling in Ecuador. So this is why it kind of reminded me of that. And I wrote about that experience on my blog, on my travel blog, on my website. So if you go to alinaIgrad.com and you look for travel journal, you will find a story from Isla de Plata, which is in Ecuador, and it was a lovely place to be in, but it was a frightening experience to try snorkeling, like free snorkeling, if you want to call it like that, somewhere offshore. I don't know, somewhere in a bay, I guess, around that island. So yes, and can I tell you the spookiest fears that I had in my life? The fear of commitment. I think Lily Singh has a bit, or like one video that she posted many years ago, in which around Halloween somebody tries to scare her or to kill her or whatever, and the only time when she actually gets scared is when the person gets like attached to her, and that's when it's like the fear of commitment. That's the spookiest one of them. But guess what? I have overcome that fear because of my partner. And so now I'm happily engaged, soon to be married, I guess. Anyway, that's the Halloween episode. Listen to other stories that I have to tell you from New York next time. This concludes today's episode. Thank you for listening and for reviewing Traveling Inside Out. If you want to get in touch with me, send an email to podcast@alinaigrad.com. And remember, your outer journey begins with inner work. Until next time.